The Excel subtotal feature is very powerful. It allows you to group together information and get the program to automatically calculate the results. Let's give you an example on this worksheet here. We have this data list of employees, and we've decided we need to have them showing how much salary we pay out to each of the 4 locations. Now if you look in the location column, we actually have 4 locations: London, Manchester, Liverpool and Bristol. Now before we do subtotaling, you have to sort the data into order, and you'll see why in a moment. So because I need to sort this into order, I'm going to click anywhere in this column. I shall move my mouse onto the data ribbon, and you'll see in the middle there's 2 small buttons, A to Z, Z to A. Now there are other ways of sorting the data. If you know a different way, then use that method. But I'm going to use either of these. I want to put them in ascending order, A to Z. So if I click on this A to Z button, you can now see it's sorted the entire data set into location alphabetical order. Now this will make the subtotal work really well. Because I need to know how much salary I pay out to each of my 4 locations, what I do is I select my data just by clicking anywhere inside. Remember, you don't have to highlight your data set. As long as you click your mouse anywhere within there, it knows it's got to work on the whole thing. Once you've done that, still on the data ribbon, if you look over at the far right, there will be a button called subtotal, which you click on. Now straight away it brings up a box called subtotal, and there's 3 things we need to do in here. Now if you have a look at the first one, it says at each change in. Now what it's asking is, which column do you want me to look down, and every time I come to a different name I shall insert a blank row within that table. Now if we have a look here in the location, that's what I want it to look down. So I'm going to choose location. So it's going to look down here. See, we've got all the Bristol. When it gets to a change to Liverpool, it will insert a blank row between these 2. The second part is, which function do you want to use? And you get the 11 standard functions in here of sum, count, average, max, min. Now we want to sum up. I want to add up the salaries. So I'm going to choose sum. We then got several checkboxes. It says add subtotal to. So which of the columns do you want the sum to calculate? Now you can see that Excel has put a tick in one of these already for me. It's actually put the tick in the wrong box. I don't want to sum up grade, so I'm going to untick that. It's actually the salary, so you always tick the field that you want calculated. We got 3 checkboxes down the bottom here. I'll explain these, but we're going to leave them as they are. The first one says, do you want to replace the current subtotals? Well, I don't have any there at the moment, so it makes no difference. But this is useful if you want to put a subtotal on top. This is useful if you want to put a subtotal on top of a subtotal that you've previously done. Do you want to put a page break between each group? Now if I tick that, when I come to print this out, it will print all of Bristol on one page, all of Liverpool on another page, and so on. There's a tick in the summary below data. Do you want to put a grand total at the bottom? Yeah, why not? So we click OK. If I zoom out, you can probably see what it's done. In this row here, it's given me the Bristol total salary. In this row here, it's given me the Liverpool total. And if I scroll down, you'll see it's given me a London total, a Manchester, but it's also given me a grand total at the bottom. So it's a very quick and convenient way of getting the results or analysing data with just a couple of clicks of the mouse. Now that's not all it's capable of doing. Although we've only got a small data set here, there's only approximately 60 or more rows here, but say you was working on a sheet that had over 5,000 rows of information. If the only thing that you're interested in are the subtotals, you don't really want to see all of this information here. If you look in the top left corner of the sheet, you'll notice there's 3 numbers, 1, 2 and 3. These are called group levels or grouping. If I was to click on the 1, watch what happens to my data set. The whole thing collapses, so the only thing that I'm showing is the grand total. If I click on group level 2, it shows me just the subtotals that I'm interested in. I could print this out, copy and paste it. One nice feature here is that if you look to the left of each of these rows, there's a small plus button that you can use to expand and see more information. For example, the Liverpool. If I wanted to see who I paid in Liverpool, if I click on the plus button next to Liverpool, you'll see it expands Liverpool so I can see what makes up that total. If I click on the minus, it'll collapse it. And you can play around with these plus and minuses to expand or collapse individual groups. Finally, if you want to bring all the records back, you can click on group level 3, which will expand everything. Now it is possible to put more than one subtotal on top of another. I want to keep this one, but I want to add another one because now we've been asked to find out how many people we employ at each of our locations. Once again, I ensure I'm clicked inside the data set. If I'm clicked outside here, it won't work. I need to be clicked in the data set. I then click back on the subtotal button. Brings up the same box. Now, because I want to count how many people work in each location, I'm going to leave the first option at location. The function, I don't want sum. I want to count, so I'm going to choose count, and I'll leave the tick on salary. I'm assuming nobody works for the love of it, so everybody earns a salary, so I shall just count the salaries that we pay out. Now this is a tick down here that I need to remove. If I don't remove this tick here that says replace current subtotals, that's what it will do. It will remove our first one and replace it with this new one. If I deselect that, it will leave the first one in place and apply this one on top. If we click OK, you can now see it's done another calculation here. And you'll also note that we've got an extra group level at the top. If I click on the 1, you can see I've got the grand totals. We employ 57 people and that's what we pay out. If I click on group level 2, that's my subtotal salaries. Group level 3 is the subtotal count. Click on 4 to expand everything. Now you can continue in this way applying more subtotals. The one thing you need to remember is 2 things. First of all, make sure you sort your data before you start. You cannot sort after you've applied a subtotal. So you need to think ahead as to what you need out of it. Secondly, subtotals are temporary views. I can't leave this view on all day and continue working. I need to remove this and then reapply it afterwards. So here, how do we remove the subtotals? Well, you go back to the subtotal button and you can then click on this button called Remove All, and that removes all of the subtotals.